Guys, Wednesday night, 8:30 in the evening, time for the BG podcast. Definitely looking forward to tonight's edition of the podcast. Huge amount of boxing to discuss. Really is a busy week. We're going to start by quickly rattling through last week's boxing. We're going to talk the Frank Warren card at the Copper Box. We're going to talk Terence Crawford. We're going to talk Murata getting robbed. We're going to talk Errol and the sucker punch. And if we've got time, we'll look at some of the smaller fights that took place as well last week. We're then going to go on to the news in boxing. Ahara Davis versus Josh Taylor made. Mike Perez going down to cruiserweight. I'm hearing Miguel Cotto has been confirmed to fight Kamagai. Finally, we'll move on and preview all of next week's boxing, of course, headlined by Kell Brook versus Errol Spence. So a huge amount of ground to cover. Some of the regular faces in the chat already. Big shout out to everyone. Big shout out to Jared, who shares absolutely everything I post, and that is hugely appreciated, mate. So shout out to everyone in the chat. 50 of you guys already joining us. If you are one of the 50, join in early by hitting the thumbs up button, so we can get more people joining and add a bit more visibility to this live stream. On the panel tonight, I'm afraid Paul is unwell. Various conspiracy theories that Paul is no longer on the podcast, but that is completely incorrect. He's just having a few health issues at the minute. So hopefully he'll be back very soon, and we wish him all the best with his recovery. Irish Tom is also unwell. He is going to join the podcast. So he will be on later, but I think he's probably going to play a bit more of a bit part role tonight as opposed to his usual headline act. But I'm pleased to say we have new panelist Jay joining us for the third week in a row. The feedback on Jay, he's everyone's favourite panelist at the minute. Give it a few weeks and they'll all hate you, Jay. But yeah, we're glad to have you back, and Jet, of course, as well. And we're going to start by bringing in Jet. So Jet, first and foremost, hope you're doing well, mate. I know we've spoken off air, but give us an update on the exams.
Hello, how is everyone today? Hope everyone's well. And yeah, exams all done. So just getting some new videos together, getting some new ideas, and yeah, should be out soon. It takes a bit longer with all the real life stuff that actually gets in the way. But yeah, hopefully be back soon.
Yeah, good stuff. And with regard, when you say back soon, I'm presuming you mean you're on the YouTube channel, Jet?
Yeah, on my channel.
Good stuff. So give Jet a subscription on Boxing Discussers, which is his YouTube channel. And when he uploads, you'll be notified about that. But Jet, let's start by talking about last week's boxing, mate. Very interesting card at the Copper Box. Yeah. Headlined, of course, by Gervonta Davis and Walsh. Some real interesting talent on the undercard as well. So if you want to start by giving us a run through there, mate.
Yeah, definitely. I've obviously been off from work for the last few weeks, and I've been able to catch this card, which was a really good card. I actually watched it with my cousin, who's a big boxing fan, and yeah, it was probably one of the first Box Nation bills we've actually sat down for the entirety of the show, no breaks, and we've watched it, from start to finish, and fantastic bill it was. I must say, big credit to Frank, BT Sport, Box Nation, and all the people involved. So, kind of go from the bottom to the top of the card. I know Mitchell Smith fought at lightweight, if I'm correct, which I was very surprised about. I think of him more as a featherweight, to be honest. I don't think he's even a super featherweight. So I know he fought and won on the card. There was a few other guys on the card. I didn't really get to catch the early portion of the card, but kind of from the main card onwards. Ryan Walsh fought Marco McCulloch, if I'm correct.
Yes.
He retained his British title, won outright. I don't really have anything to say on Ryan Walsh, to be honest. I know the Box Nation commentary were kind of, talking him up and saying he's a big deal and he's not too far off Liam Walsh's level. I totally disagree, to be honest. I don't really rate him. He's decent. He got handled quite easily by Lee Selby. And for me, he lost a close fight against Dennis Salen, the European featherweight champion. But for me, he could have lost that a lot wider if he didn't get the knockdown in the first round. Obviously, hindsight is a beautiful thing. But, for me, he's kind of reached his ceiling, to be honest. I think he's a British/European level fighter. And, yeah, he's obviously won the belt outright. But, I do think he's average at best. Let's put it that way. But for at least the hype he gets, let's say that. Who's the other one? Daniel Dubois. Obviously, he chinned David Howe. David Howe. We actually said before the fight went on here, we said give it 1 minute and David Howe's going to be knocked out, and it happened to be less than a minute. So yeah, we were correct on that. If only we could have said it on Twitter or on air, it would have been a lot better, more educated guess, I guess. Who was the other one? Joe Pigford. Was it Joe Pigford versus Aaron Morgan? That was a fantastic fight. I did say both. I did say to my cousin, because he wasn't too familiar with these two guys. I know Aaron Morgan's a Mickey Helliott promoted fighter, if I'm correct. And yeah, Joe Pigford, obviously, he's a super welter prospect for Frank Warren. And yeah, I said it would be a barn burner, which it was. It was a fantastic fight. And yeah, I was really, really pleased with the action, to be honest. Joe Pigford has a lot to improve on. I did put it on Twitter. If anyone was following my tweets, I was on there. I was trying to talk to Ultra Tech and that sort of stuff, try and get some discussion going there. But yeah, it was a fantastic fight. I think Joe Pigford really needs to improve. He's got a lot of holes in his game, but obviously he's got time, and whether or not he wants to listen to his coaches, that's another story for another day, I guess. And obviously the main event, the main event was, or am I missing a fight? Missing one fight? I can't remember.
Yard.
Yard. Yeah, Yard looked really good. There's not much to say on him. Obviously, Southern Area champ, but he's relatively young in his career, and he looked very good. So, yeah, onwards and upwards for Anthony Yard. Gervonta Davis versus Liam Walsh. That was it was a cagey fight. It wasn't a splendid fight. It was a very, very cagey fight for what it was worth. I did think Gervonta would probably come in really, really fast, but he was very educated, came in, and he got the jab going, and that jab was lightning quick. It was some of the punches he was throwing, they were hitting Walsh, and his hands were coming back before Liam Walsh could even react. So Gervonta Davis definitely looks like a real prospect. Well, not even a prospect anymore. He looks like a real serious operator at super featherweight. Probably the only guy that you put above him at this moment in time is Vasyl Lomachenko. And yeah, he has the potential to move up in weight. I do think it's slightly early for him to move up in weight. I do think he can, maybe get a unification with one of the other champions at 130. Although, him making 130.2 was, it kind of shows that he may be struggling with the weight already. He's a very, very, his stature is very thick. He's not a tall super featherweight, but he's very, very stocky. And you could see it when he stood next to Liam Walsh. So that's something to keep an eye out on with Gervonta Davis. But yeah, he looks like a real handful for anyone at the weight. Even Lomachenko, you can give him some serious problems, if he can stay in shape and, really, really keep improving. He's young. I think he's the youngest world champion in boxing at the moment. So definitely a lot of time to improve. And he's got a fantastic, sort of ambassador or promoter or / trainer in Floyd Mayweather to learn off, and he can, channel a lot of his energy in his own work, and probably more explosive as well.
Yeah. Do you think Gervonta Davis's key to his success is staying at that lower weight class? I have a bit of a fear that he could be very, very good if he stays at that weight class, but he could turn into an Adrian Broner type character if he tries to go through the weights.
Possibly, there is a definite possibility, but my opinion on that is, if a guy can't make weight, then you're going to have to move up eventually. But I do think he still has some years, maybe 18 months to 2 years to stay at 130, and then he can move up. Because I do think he's small in terms of height-wise. I do think he might be able to grow, an inch or two, and maybe grow naturally into the lightweight weight class. Also, the guys at lightweight at the moment, they're very, very strong opponents there. All the world champions and top contenders are strong. I do think he could probably wipe out some of the contenders, like and those sort of guys. But the top level guys, Mikey Garcia, Mikey Garcia is a big 135. So is Jorge Linares. Who's the other one? Robert Easter's quite big for the weight. There's other guys who are naturally just big and muscular at the weight. Richard Comey, those sort of guys, in and around the world level scene. So yeah, there is potential that if he does move up too early and he's not living the lifestyle outside the ring and whatnot, that he may struggle. But he doesn't seem to come across as an Adrian Broner type character outside the ring. I know he might go out partying and that sort of stuff, but that's I think we've grown accustomed to that as fans and analysts and whatnot. But in terms of his nature, I don't think he's the sort of person that will crave that sort of limelight. I think he lets his action do the talking. And I know Floyd was obviously doing a lot of the talking. His Gervonta Davis's actions eventually stole the spotlight, I guess.
Yeah. And on a related note, as for Liam Walsh, I mean, he's someone I've always viewed as a world champion in the making. I just think he ran into one this weekend. What's your perspective on him? I know you were saying Ryan Walsh has quite a limited ceiling. Do you think he can come back and the world title?
Yeah, for me, Liam Walsh is a very, very good fighter. Don't get me wrong. He's in his own right, he's a fantastic fighter. In terms of the British guys that we have on the scene, not just that super feather, but in terms of all the fighters that we have in the UK, he's very, very skilled. Maybe it was just a case of, wrong time, wrong place for Liam Walsh. And obviously he's come up against a guy who's, notoriously a big puncher, and he's got fast hands, and, he's touted to be one of the best, not in only his weight class, but in America, in the world. He's an elite fighter. I think it was a case of a good fighter came up against an elite fighter. So, he definitely can come again. He's big at super feather. He's very big at super feather in terms of height. And he's also campaigned once or twice at lightweight, if I'm correct. So he can also, move up to lightweight and have a few opportunities there. Whether or not, he's got the...
Okay, Jack, I'm going to bring Jay in on about the rest of last week's boxing. Okay, mate?
Sorry? Hello?
Jay, you there, mate?
Yeah, hello?
Sorry, Jay.
Yes, mate.
Good stuff, Jay. Let's start by asking you about Anthony Yarde for last week, mate. He seems to be a fighter on everyone's lips right now, going through the opposition in pretty fantastic style. What's your perspective on his performance, and how do you think he's going to look as he keeps stepping up in class?
Well, it's understandable that everyone's jumping on his bandwagon because he is probably, I'd say, the most marketable British fighter that there is at this point in time. He looks the part. He's confident. He's got power, obviously. Watching him on Saturday, I thought he timed his punches well. He's got good footwork. He steps back well. He showed a lot of maturity in that performance. It's very rare that you'll see fighters getting dropped so many times by body shots, which is good because it's something that he's obviously working on, something that he's looked at, something that is not utilised enough by boxers today. Once you get hit with a body shot and it's clean, you're going to struggle to get back up. And Hobbs did really well to get back up. He had showed a lot of heart in his fight. If you watch his face, he has that killer instinct. He enjoys his work. He enjoys him like Kovalev in a way. He enjoys inflicting pain. And with that confidence and knowing he's got that power in both hands, he's definitely a force to be reckoned with. And going on through his career, he's going to gain more and more confidence. He's going to step up in opposition. The only concern I would have, he keeps his hands low. Although he's got quick head movement, although he can step back very quickly, once he steps up in opponents and levels, is that going to be enough? Is his power going to be enough going forward? Will the bigger guys, the more experienced guys, be able to handle his power a little bit more, make him a bit more predictable? I don't know. I think now is the time for him, and he is going to step up. He is stepping up, isn't he? Then the next fight, he's fighting a guy for the
He's fighting for WBO international belt. I think the guy's 18-1, but I had a quick look at him on Box Rec, and I'm not sure if he's ever fought outside of Hungary.
Right. So then, I mean, it'll be his 12th fight. Is that right? I'm not sure.
I think it might be a bit less than that, actually. But let me just box check. I had a feeling it was quite a little bit less than him. Oh no, you're right, Jay. You're completely spot on. He's had 11, so that'll be his 12th.
So that's probably the right sort of opponent again for him too. You got to be looking at about probably 15 fights where he really starts to pick it up into, you know, higher European level, just under world level. I know there was talk on Twitter about him fighting possibly Buglioni. Buglioni fancies that a lot. I know that you rate him very highly, and I know that you think he could probably step up with these guys now. Off performances, well, then, maybe he could. But I would give him, you know, 2-3 more fights just to see where he's at, and then let him off the leash and let him really go for it. But as far as Saturday night's performance against, you can only beat what's in front of you. But, you know, he did show a lot of composure and a lot of maturity in what he did. I like his kidology. I like the way he smirks when he hits you, you know, and that can seem a little bit barbaric, but that's what a fighter needs. So many fighters in the past have been accused of not being able to finish people off. He definitely has that in spadesfuls.
100%. 100%. Going to ask you a similar question on Daniel Dubois. Obviously, he's even earlier in his pro career. 3-0. On paper, David Howe, a very good win for a fighter this young into his career.
Yeah, I said that last week that it was a good opponent for him for so early in his career. Daniel Dubois is 19 years old. I think we need to remember that. People, you know, I remember when Anthony Joshua first started out, and we want to see him progress so quickly because we know we can see ability there, and we want to see him fight the best. So everyone was pushing him, and he was managed very well in hindsight, the way Anthony Joshua's progression was done within, you know, the first year. I don't know, he fought 8 times or whatever. Same with Daniel Dubois. You've got to get him out quickly. You've got to get him out plenty of times throughout the year, build up that record. Most, you know, successful heavyweights, Lewis, Tyson, they all had masses of fights within their first couple of years, and that's really what he needs to do to get as much experience as possible, because he is, within the first 5 or 6 fights, going to blow these guys out very quickly, which is exactly what he's shown. But he's a unit. He's an athletic specimen. He's 16 stone, I think 16 stone odd he weighed in Saturday. He's probably going to get bigger than that, you know, as he starts to grow into his, you know, as they say, man strength. I like the way he's always on his toes. He's a little bit over-eager, maybe a little bit, you know, occasion gets to him a little bit. He wants to impress a little bit. The thing with Anthony Joshua was that even in his early days, he showed a lot of composure. You know, he showed a good head in there. That's probably something that we see. But again, it's early days. He's 19 years old. I mean, if you were 19 years old and you're going out in front of a crowd and they're shouting his name, and you know you've got power in your hands, you are going to be over-eager. And we've seen it many times with many fighters, you know. But I think that will come. But we can't learn too much, you know. We've had it with David Price, you know, big things, get one on the chin, then we'll really find out how good you are. But from aesthetic point of view, he looks the part. He's obviously got power in his hands, and there's a lot of good things said about him from his amateur days and when he was working with the GB squad.
100%, yeah. Certainly one to watch. And I was saying I think they need to put him in with some durable journeyman types now, not guys who, you know, are going to beat him or really even going to test him, but guys who are going to give him rounds. And I think that's kind of where he's going to grow and learn. So, you know, hopefully that will be, we'll see some guys take him 4 rounds or take him 6 rounds before the end of the year. Jay, what about the main event, mate? Liam Walsh versus Gervonta Davis, or anything you want to mention from the card?
Well, we said last week, didn't we? You know, a lot of people were saying that Walsh was going to take him late and it's going to be a lot closer than we thought. And both me and you said that within 6 rounds, this fight is done. Kudos to us, obviously. But the fact of the matter is, like you said, and again, I said that Walsh hasn't fought out of British level. He's not been tested, and you've brought a guy over who is seen as some sort of new prospect. Even though I would say after it, okay, he was great. Davis, he showed great power, you know, but still, I would still have questions. You know, I wouldn't say he's going to be the best in that division, you know, from that performance, because if you watched at the start of the fight, you looked at Davies, he was very confident. He was smiling. He looked relaxed. If you didn't have known, you'd have thought he was the home fighter compared to Walsh. Walsh didn't look great. He was to start off in the fight, he was hesitant. He got hit after about 30 seconds with a big left hand, which obviously shook him a little bit. And he thought, you know, and I don't really know what the game plan from Walsh was. You know, he kept his right hand high, so he was very wary of that left hand of Davies. But I don't really know what the plan was. Was the plan to, you know, take him late to get the rounds in? Was he just trying to work him out? Was he maybe trying to catch him on the counter when he hoped Davies would rush him and come in? But as soon as you know, within the second round, I don't think there was any punches thrown within the first 50 seconds of the second round. They were just standing off. And what concerns me is that if a fighter doesn't instigate offense, then he's not going to worry the opponent. So without Walsh really trying to push a fight, Davis really wasn't scared of anything. He wasn't having to react to anything. He wasn't having to think about anything. And although probably Walsh was not doing that because of the power, because he knew that the power was there. So I think as soon as he felt the power, then he started to sit back a little bit too much. And as soon as Davis knew that he'd hurt him, he jumped on him, and those left hands were just shaking him to his boots. Stopped at the right time completely. Could have probably not stopped earlier, but there would have been no argument from me if it had been stopped a little bit earlier. But when you saw Walsh on his knees, you could see his whole body was swaying from side to side. And when he got up, he looked like he just walked out the pub, basically, and we knew it was over. And what I found remarkable was afterwards that he was very disappointed in himself and saying, that's not me. Well, if that's not you, why didn't you show us what you can do? What was the reasons? Was the reasons Davies was that good? Was the reasons his power was that good? Did you freeze? Did you not work him out quick enough? Did you not relax into a pattern? I don't really know, but great performance by Davies. It'll be interesting to see where he goes from there. Liam Walsh, where he goes, 30 years old?
Yeah.
You know, is he going to be, I don't know, I wouldn't call him a gatekeeper, but is he going to get that sort of shot again? I'm not so sure.
It's difficult for Frank to rebuild him, really, because he's not like a massive celebrity. He's not like a massive ticket seller, massive fan favourite, you know, so it's hard to maybe put in the huge investment needed into him.
I think to be honest, I think what will save him is the amount of dates that Box Nation have got to fill. Yeah. And I think they can work off him losing to Davis and him challenging for a world title. And if Davis goes on to be, you know, one of the best in the division, he has that on his record to say, well, at least I lost to the best, or, you know, the new Tyson or whatever, and try and build it like that. But because of the amount of dates, and I think we'll talk about Houston off, and I think that comes into it a lot, that the dates have got to be filled, so names need to be put on there. And he's got some sort of a name that people in the future will sort of recognise. But as far as elevating him to a world title shot again, I think his brother probably got more chance of him getting one before him.
I was wondering if they might stick him in with Terry Flanagan, but again, maybe they'll look for bigger name fights for Terry Flanagan rather than Liam Walsh, I guess. That's not a fight that would sell a lot of tickets, unfortunately. So maybe
they wouldn't get away with it, Tom. I don't think. I just don't think they would get away with putting Liam Walsh with Terry Flanagan. It's just I think Flanagan gets enough stick as it is. I think you'd be really putting a nail in a coffin if you did that, to be honest.
Yeah. What about last one, Jay? What about Pickford? Is he a knockout waiting to happen? But exciting fighter nevertheless.
That fight was a lot better than I thought it would be.
Yeah,
I didn't know masses about Pickford. I'll be honest with you. And I know a bit about Morgan, and I'm watching Morgan, and I'm thinking this is an easy night for you. Easy night. The first 2-3 rounds,
yeah,
off, speed was showing, good movement, catching him with a jab every time. I just thought this is all you've got to do for 8 rounds. All you've got to do is just keep picking him off, keep moving, keep walking round, and this guy's not going anywhere. He's just going to keep coming forward. But if you want to win the fight, pick him off, take the jabs, catch him with the hooks when you can, get out of the way, and that's what you got to keep doing. Aaron got into a brawl, toe to toe with him, which you don't want to do. And he got caught a few times, and then he started to slow down, and the stamina started to go, his legs started to go, and his hands started to drop. And as soon as that happened, that was Pickford's invitation to start trying to knock his head off. And Pickford likes a brawl, likes a puncher. His hands were low, but he will, take. And unfortunately, it caught up with Morgan. But how far Pickford can go is anyone's guess. That's a short career right there, as far as I'm concerned.
certainly is, mate. Certainly is. Could be a short but exciting career, I guess.
Oh, people will watch him though. People, if I see him on a bill, I will go straight for that fight 100% because you people are masochists and we love to watch. It's a blood sport and we love to watch it. And he likes to give entertainment that way. And he knows that will sell tickets, that will get him on bills. And it'll be interesting to see how he progresses.
Definitely. Yeah, no. Good stuff, Jay. Cheers for that, mate. I'm going to go back to Jet on some of the other results, and then I'll bring you back in a second, pal.
Okay.
Cheers. Jet, you with us, mate?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, good stuff. So the first fight to throw into the mix was Crawford versus Diaz. I didn't actually do a video on this one because I ran out of time, but I have watched it, and a really, really good performance in my perspective from Terence Crawford. He dealt with a fighter. He kind of dealt with a fighter who fought an equivalent fight to how Sean Porter would try and fight you. Starving you of room, roughing you up on the inside, making it awkward, making it tough, bringing the pressure. And the way he was, picking shots, the way he was keeping distance, the way he was landing that uppercut was truly spiteful, I thought. Were you impressed yet?
Yeah, I think Crawford did what he had to do, and he looked very good doing it. Diaz is a very good fighter. I think we're somewhat fans of him, or at least some of us on the podcast are fans of him. And yeah, he definitely looks, he definitely looked like a serious threat, or at least he had, something there for him. But Crawford, dealt with him pretty easy, to be honest. And he's moving onwards and upwards, and yeah, he's definitely getting better and better. I think with each fight, they're obviously talking about who his next fight is going to be, Julius Ndongo. That's the one that Bob Arum's talking about. So yeah, he can only get better. His ceiling is so high. Whether he has a ceiling or not is a question that should be asked, I guess. But yeah, Crawford, very impressive. He's definitely improved for me, especially. I wasn't too high on him before, but yeah, Tom's joined, so you might want to bring him in.
Good stuff. Yeah, cheers for that, Jet, mate. We'll come back to you in just a second, Jet. I'm gonna go straight to Irish Tom because I understand he's only joining us for 5 or 10 minutes tonight, so I won't make him wait. Iris, how rough are you, mate?
Not too bad. My voice has recovered a bit.
Okay. I was expecting you to sound even worse, to be honest, mate. So, are you on the road?
I am. Yesterday there was a bit of Barry White in the house, but it's a bit better today.
Good stuff. Iris, mate, I know you're not with us for long, so just freestyle it. Give us your thoughts from last week, your thoughts on next week, whatever you want to get off your chest, mate.
Well, Jesus, what a weekend of boxing. There was a lot of boxing. Liam Walsh got, I think, I won money on that. I had the same opinion yourself. So your man is a real deal. He's an elite fighter. That was a really good card, actually. My new all-time favorite boxer is Joe Pigford. The pig is the man for me. I'm telling you, the pig is going. What did some of the fans sing? The pig will tear us apart again. Tear you apart. Yeah. Fucking brilliant, man. He has got no fucking technique, but he has got bombs in either hand, and he's got the all-time, the greatest boxing name I've ever heard of. He beat Juan Lozano, the Hispanic cause and panic. Just being called the pig is fucking brilliant. Joe, the pig, Pigford. How do you beat that? Fucking brilliant. And a savage. Was a good fight. What else was there? Oh yeah, did any of you boys watch that David Benavidez Porky Medina fight?
I didn't watch it, but I heard about it. Sounds like he was amazingly impressive.
Yeah, he was fucking brilliant. He's the best 168. He's the best super middleweight in the world. He beats them all. Yeah, he beats the shit out of them all.
I need to give that
I would say... Huh? Sorry, I'd say he'd knock them all out. He's a beast. He's got fast hands, good defense, good reflexes. He's tall, hits like a mule, tough as nails. He bet the shit out of Porky Medina. What is it with pigs tonight? We've got a lot of pigs on display tonight. That was great. What else was there at the weekend? There was so much. Oh yeah, guys, I think you got it wrong about that fight where your man hitting after the bell. I think that was on the bell. I think that's the wrong decision. If you watch it and you slow it down to half pace on YouTube, you can just see him as the last one's going as the bell is ringing.
I think I made that video about the sucker punch. I think a lot of people misunderstood it. I do think it was after the bell, but I kind of commented on that because I was covering the fight and I thought it was a noteworthy discussion. Whether he hit him on the bell or after the bell, I was by no means justifying what happened next, And I think I got a few messages from people. Yeah, I completely agree. I never wanted to give that impression from my video, and listening to it back, I don't think I did actually give that impression. But yeah, pretty outrageous what happened next.
Well, look, people go on about it being outrageous. It's like, it's kind of funny. Like Floyd knocked out Ortiz in a similar fashion. Well, because they both have a license, we all say, oh yeah, that was very smart of Floyd. Protect yourself at all times. It's quite ironic. We're watching it. Our sport is two guys beating the crap out of each other, and then one fella hits a guy and he's not supposed to be doing the punching, and everybody goes head over heels about it. I think it's a pretty...
Even in the fight.
I know, but like the thing is, like people, I just feel like people go overboard about some of these things too.
Oh, I don't know, mate. What, someone who's not a contestant in the fight hits someone who's not looking bare knuckle? I think that is noteworthy.
It's noteworthy, but like I kind of find that the moralism of the moralizing of boxing fans about this kind of somewhat questionable. Like he threw a punch at a guy. The same kind of things happens in pubs every fucking night of the week, and nothing happens to this guy's going to end up in probably get jail time or something. I don't know. I just feel like just ban him from training or something. I think it's for a year or two. But anyway, I just find it funny. What you're allowed to do in a boxing ring, but not at certain times. Is kind of funny. But I don't think it should have been a DQ. I think Uskatagi should have got the win. I thought he was quite good actually. Terrell was quite good in the fight too, but I think he did play it up a bit. What else was there?
Dubois, Yard, Murata, Gary Russell, Zelfa Barrett, Crawford.
Yeah, Crawford. I lost money on Crawford, the bastard. I thought he would go the distance. And I thought it was going to go the distance, even though I knew the result when I was watching it again. I thought it was a bit. I thought they could have let him go the full length. I don't think he was that badly hurt, but maybe that's just sour grapes on my behalf. Oh yeah, the Murata fight. That was a bit of a shocker. Like that's a very unusual one.
Okay.
Yeah, like because rarely do you have like a robbery in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I did say that. Why do you rob a Japanese guy in Japan? It doesn't make sense.
Unless there was like a big gamble on somewhere, that'd be my thinking. There was a gamble on somewhere, but and it that's all I can think. But maybe there's like some Maligan Asian betting cartel, and they just pay a couple of judges a couple of $100,000 and throw it to the way. But yeah, pretty ridiculous. Well, a good thing this week is that it looks like Paul Smith might be not getting his title shot, and that will be funny. Like all these fucking people on Twitter, these boxers and stuff who slag off just like and take the piss out of like fans and stuff. It's like I would love to see them get their fucking comeuppance, because he's one of the worst. Like I don't think I've ever tweeted him or tweeted about him, and I think I might be blocked. There's only two people. Scott Quigg blocked me, and I've never even tweeted him. How does that work? Are people searching for you? So I would just think it would be hilarious. And Eddie Hearn is throwing a shit fit as well, so that's kind of funny,
I saw the president saying that he hasn't made a decision on whether it's for the world title. So, yeah, I guess that does give the suggestion it may not happen for the belt, right?
Yeah, and like, there's definitely be money is being paid fucking somewhere to do that. How do you jump 15 places, with Paul Smith's thing? And he hasn't even, is it right that Paul Smith hasn't even made £168 in 3 years? Or was that his last win? I think it was his last win.
Must be his last win, because he certainly made it for the Abraham fights.
Kelly Maloney didn't have breasts the last time he won a fight, apparently.
No comment.
And still had a Mickey on her.
Interesting. Tom, you're not staying on, are you? So we do you want to talk about your predictions for next week?
What's next week? Oh, the Spence. I'll stay on in the background, and I might join in. I'll see if the missus comes up and interrupts me. I'll stay on until you hit the Spence stuff. Yeah.
Cheers, Tom. All right, thank you, mate. Thanks for coming on. Let's bring Jet back in. Jet, sorry to interrupt you there. Just wanted to give Iris a few minutes because I know he may have to drop off. But let's go back to you. He joined. I think you were either just talking about Crawford, or you just finished talking about Crawford?
Yeah, I think I just finished talking about Crawford. So, yeah.
Anything else from last week you want to discuss? Obviously, Benavidez, Murata, Zelfa Barrett, Ustinov, Gary Russell, Errol. There's a big list, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I won't go through it since it's a bit of an exhaustive list, but the sucker punch in the Uzkitskaya and Errol fight was disgusting. That was a very even fight. So apparently there's been rumors that a rematch is going to be made, and it's going to be made a no contest. So yeah, that's made that that won't be a terrible fight. I guess it'll be a meaningful fight in the super middleweight division. Zelfa Barrett looked good. I know Ustinov was in the card. I didn't see his fight, but Zelfa Barrett looked good. Who's the other one? Gary Russell looked good, but albeit against an overmatched opponent in Iskandar. And Murata definitely got robbed for me. I thought he was a close fight in some quarters, but I felt he done more than enough to win. It was a bit weird that he got robbed in his own country. So yeah, I won't go too much into the rest of the action. There's so much to cover. So yeah.
Let me just hit you with one other question, Jet. Terence Crawford. Now, I'm a massive Felix Diaz fan, so I watched this fight with interest, and I also thought it was a truly spectacular win because I'm a big fan of Felix Diaz. But, if I'm honest, I think it's a fight that went somewhat under the radar, and I kind of think it's a fight that people will look back on and say, oh, Felix Diaz wasn't up to much, which I disagree with, but I think that may turn out to be the public perception. So my question to you is, what do you see as next for Terence Crawford? I know Bob Arum works with the likes of Lomachenko, works with the likes of Pacquiao. Do you think those matchups are realistically there to be made? Do you think there's other big fights for him at 140? Where do you think he goes?
Do you know what? With Crawford, it's very tough to manage him because he's so skilled, and obviously people want the belts. He's got 2 of the belts in the division at 140, WBC, WBO. So they're really, you're limited to who you're fighting. It's either him or Ndongo because they hold all the belts at 140. So it's very tough. I know. Was it another fight? Was Barthélemy versus Relic. Apparently, Relic got robbed. I couldn't track that down anywhere on YouTube. I tried to watch it, but yeah, I wasn't able to find it. But so the guys there's not really many big fights apart from the Ndongo fight. And Bob Arum's been saying he'd like to make that fight next, but HBO won't actually be keen to broadcast it. I don't know if you heard that this week, but so it really depends because obviously he's been on, and Bob Arum wants him to get on, in the next 2-3 months. I'd say 3 months maybe. That's what he was saying. So HBO don't really want to air him so soon after his win. It's difficult, obviously 147, I think he could go up to 147 and clear up there. He's that good, I'll be honest. And Thurman's there. Errol Spence, if he wins this weekend, is there. There's a lot of fights there in the States for him. If, Bob is willing to work without him, and which he has shown slight willingness to do, over the last sort of year to 18 months. He's been working with him a bit more and more. Jess,
I threw I have the link to that Relic fight. I put it into the chat. It's in the group chat there. If you on our one, the Hangout one, if you want it.
Yeah, lovely. I'll watch that.
Relic, by the way, because a lot of people are telling me he was robbed. The Barthélemy is a decent fighter, so he definitely beat Ricky Burns for my money. If he's beaten Barthélemy, I think there's a strong suggestion that he's one of the top fighters at 140. So very, very harsh on him if that's true.
Yeah, thanks to Irish Tom. I'll probably need to watch that, tomorrow or something like that, later on tomorrow. But I didn't get to see that fight. Crawford, I think 147, Ndongo or 147. Those are realistic options at this moment in time.
Good stuff. All right, cheers for that, Jet, mate. Jay, let's go over to you. Obviously, huge amount of fights. We could probably devote 20 minutes to each of them if we had the time, but let me just throw it open to you and ask if there's any of them in particular that you thought were noteworthy and that you want to discuss, mate.
Well, Crawford, he's so good. He's so good. Diaz is a good fighter, but Crawford is just exceptional. His hand speed is so good. His accuracy, he managed to pull power from nowhere. I love watching him. I think Diaz did the right thing in the sense that he tried to get inside, tried to rush him a little bit, but he's that technically good. He can handle that with ease. He enjoys what he does. What he does, I said last week, he's kind of like a veteran. He's like got a veteran's head, but in a young man's body with the skill. So he'll work him out, he'll work the opponent out, and then by about 5th or 6th round, he had him beat. And this is where the kidology comes in, with the tapping on the head, with the gloves and the smiling and the talking, and that shows an elite fighter that he knows he's got this guy, and he knows that he can't be hurt and he can't be damaged. So he's just head and shoulders above everyone in that division. Where he'll go, I think he'll fight Ndongo. I don't know whether has Eddie Hearn got the option on Ndongo for his fight.
So I believe, yes.
So I think he'll fight Ndongo. If it's not going to be shown on American TV, maybe you wouldn't be surprised if he came over to the UK where there's a bit of money, get some sort of TV exposure, possibly. Whether Aaron will put him against Pacquiao, maybe changing of the guard as his number one fighter, as his golden goose, and then he'll definitely step up because he's that good. He's that good, even if he's not the biggest in the division, purely off skill. He would do really well, and I think he'll be a couple of weight world champion with these. To be honest, I honestly, for me, him and Lomachenko, there's Ronaldo and Messi in football terms, as far as I'm concerned. Other fights, and Dam Murata, that was a joke. And Dam coming off 3 fights in France, coming off a 30-second first round knockout, did what he should have done to start off with, moved around the ring, popped that jab out, but used a lot of energy within the first 5 rounds, started to slow down a little bit. As soon as he got caught by Murata, that was it. It was one of those fights where you're just waiting for Murata to connect. Because every time he connects clean, and Dam's going, and that brought a bit of excitement to it. It was a complete robbery. I think one guy had it. Well, it was unanimous, wasn't it? Definitely deserves a rematch, and I think there will be another fight. Darrell, what pissed me off the most about that Darrell fight is that it wasn't a great fight anyway. Darrell wasn't happy in there. He was a lot of time with his back on the ropes, popping out the jab. When he got finished at the bell, it was after the bell, as far as I'm concerned. But what made it worse for me was Darrell's reaction. He sat there, he realised what's happened. The referee starts calling in the doctor, and then his head goes straight down, and he's just like, he knew he wasn't going to win that fight, and he just thought, right, this is, as far as I was concerned, this is my get out. This is where I can get well out of this fight. I've had enough for tonight. I think he probably knew he wasn't going to, I didn't think he was going to win that fight.
Dan Raphael tweeted that
Win himself.
Darrell looked like he was going to get up. And Dan Raphael overheard the corner screaming at him to stay down.
Yeah, you can tell. He wasn't having a good time in that fight. He wasn't getting his own way, and the referee was a little bit too pally. He was a little bit too full of his own self-importance. That ref, I thought. I didn't like the way he reacted. So if there was a rematch, I don't think Darrell would want any of it. I really don't. I think he'll just think, I'll just move on and try and get a title fight or whatever. I don't think he'll want a bar of it. As far as the guy Judasing the fighter, well, it's just I don't know why he's doing that. I don't know why he's doing that. There's no justification with it at all. But everyone said their piece about that. I think Ustinov, I watched him. Zambrano Love coming really heavy, like 18 stone something, if I remember. Zambrano Love's been in with quite a few people, hasn't he? And usually looks all right. He is a gatekeeper, but he looked well out of shape. And it's surprising to see Ustinov on that card. But as I said earlier on, I think he'll bring people in like Ustinov to fill up cards, basically, because he's committed to doing so many shows.
Yeah, Ustinov may be the main beneficiary of the Shannon Briggs performance-enhancing drug situation, because he is actually the highest-ranked competitor in their rankings. So, for what may be the most bizarre world title fight of all time, Freza Quendo could well be mandated to face Alexander Ustinov.
Well, Ustinov had been out for a year, hadn't he? He hadn't fought for a year.
Yeah.
That's a good opponent.
Lads, did you see that Zambrano Love went the distance with Andy Ruiz? How shit does that make Andy Ruiz? How shit does that make Joseph Parker?
But I think
Love used to actually be. I mean, he's one of these fighters, Tom, who's just declined. He went 10 rounds with Charles Martin.
Exactly.
Zambrano Love. I'm not saying he was ever a great fighter, because he wasn't. But the fighter who turned up against Alexander Ustinov was not a Zambrano Love taking it seriously. I looked at the Ustinov's box track 2 or 3 days before the fight, and it was still showing as TBA. So they'd probably flown him in from somewhere like a day or two in advance. 3 or 4 stone overweight to take a beating. It's a different guy to the guy who fought Ruiz, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, completely. You could tell in his face how much heavier he was round his middle. That he got lots of flab, lots of flesh. He wasn't the same. No, not at all. As you said, he'd been. Well, I think he's based in Las Vegas. I think so. They probably just pulled him in as you said the day before, just to as a warm up fight for Ustinov after coming back after a year, half a name to maybe help him out, push up rank. I don't know, but just to. I think it was. You couldn't tell anything from that, and Ustinov, he didn't even look good, knocking someone out in a minute. He looked terrible as far as I'm concerned. Even if he knocked someone out in a minute, he just, you can't tell much from that. But just the way he was putting his punches together, it just, I don't know, it just didn't flow at all. And I don't know, he was quite happy with the win, so fair play to him. And as you said, he'll probably get a WBA shot now. So. He's good luck, and Shannon Brooks is bad luck, I guess.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move it on and let's discuss some of the news in the sport of boxing this week. So, what I'm going to do with this is just introduce a topic and have a bit of a free for all. I won't ask a particular panelist. Like, anyone can jump in if it's a topic that they've got something to contribute on. The first one, for me, highly exciting news. Delighted about this. Ohara Davies versus Josh Taylor has been confirmed, guys.
Great fight. Yeah. I'm very surprised it was made. I'm very shocked about that. I wonder what all Eddie Hearn fanboys will think now that Eddie Hearn is not actually paying enough money to keep it on Sky. Well, where's all this pay-per-view money? He's just done the biggest pay-per-view in British boxing history. Can't even afford to give Ohara Davies fucking 75 grand. But
did you see Hearn's interview with IFL, Tom?
No. What did he say?
He said in that he made an interview of 70,000 to. He made an offer of 70k to Taylor. And then he said the McGuigans came back and offered him 6 figures for Ohara Davies to go and fight on Channel 5. So he went to Ohara Davies and said, look, I don't believe it. The McGuigans have offered 6 figures. I say we should accept it. And Ohara Davies said that they were going to accept it. So Hearn went back to McGuigan and he was prepared to accept it on the initial offer. But he decided instead just to ask for a bit more. And apparently, unbelievably, the McGuigans straight away agreed to going a bit more over their initial offer, which was already in the 6 figures. And Eddie Hearn said, like, he literally couldn't believe the offer that they put out. Like, I don't know if Jet and Jay saw that interview and if, they think that's a fair summary, what I've just given. But, Hearn seemed to be in disbelief about the amount of money they were paying Davies.
But it's been interesting though. But that's a couple of big fights that haven't gone. All the stuff that people say. People are saying, "Oh, it's great for Eddie Hearn to make that fight." It's like, it's bullshit. The McGuigans made that fight, but I just think it's a great fight. I personally think that Ohara Davies is a good fighter, and I like him, and I like the way he's built himself up from being kind of unknown. And, he tries his best to fucking piss people off because if it's nearly easier to do the Chris Eubank way. If you're not a really sound bloke, you might as well just be a complete heel. So I think he's done well with his own career. I think he's a good fighter, but I just think Josh Taylor has got too much. I think Josh Taylor will just be busier than him. Like that fight, like the Scarpa fight is the best Ohara Davies performance. And in that, like, he was quite pedestrianly one-paced. And Josh Taylor fights at a high tempo. So was that Scarpa one was that at light welter or was it at lightweight?
Light welter.
It was at light welter, yeah. But so I think Josh Taylor will just have too much movement and too much boxing for him, and I think he'll win on points. But it could be an exciting fight, but a great fight. It's good to see that fight be made.
Your excitement about Josh Taylor, what percentage of that excitement is due to the Dave Ryan fight?
Well, I kind of said he'd be a world champion before the Dave Ryan fight. I know Mikey in the chat's fucking slagging me about David Benavidez now, saying it's like that's what I do. I see a fighter once and I go. But I thought I watched a good few of his fights before the Dave Ryan fight, and I thought he was going to be you can clearly see he's got a lot of stuff. But the Dave Ryan fight was a good performance. But like you see, say the performance that he went and he did, say over on what was undercard he went and fought on? Was it the Carl Phantom undercard?
Yeah, one in the States, wasn't it? Yeah, maybe it was.
Yeah, and he fought this really tough guy that fought this guy called Ryan Carl or something, and gave him hell. And he clearly won that, but it was a tough fight. The guy was pretty good and awkward and very tall and posed a lot of difficult problems, and his record didn't suggest he was as good as he was, but I've seen him a couple of times now. That guy's tough as nails and awkward. But I just think Ahara Davis, I think it's a 70-30 fight. I think it's a 2-1 fight for what's the bookie saying about it?
I haven't actually got a price on it just yet. Let me see if I can look one up as we're talking. Just FYI, Tom, it wasn't Mikey who was slagging you off. It was someone else.
It wasn't always. It was Team Groves. Sorry, Mikey. It's Team Groves. I always mix them up.
A proper apology to Mikey for calling him out live in front of me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like George Groves is a ginger like myself, so I can't slag him.
Mikey has put that Josh Taylor is 4-6 to win the fight in the chat.
Yeah. What date is that on? It's July 8th.
July, so it's the same night as the Billy Joe Saunders card. I'm just on odds checker now. There's a bit of 8-11 available on Josh Taylor. With Paddy Power, he's 8-11. You can get a bit of 5-4 on Ahara Davies.
Yeah, I think that 8-11 is pretty good, or 3-4 on Marathon Bet. That's pretty. I think that's good value. Remember, he is at home.
It's certainly a fight that we'll cover again very much in the lead up to it, and I'm sure it's going to be an electric build up as well. Guys, anyone else want to get in on that fight?
I think it's a fantastic fight that everyone wanted. I wonder, him letting him go to Channel 5 for this fight, I wonder if it's a struggle. I'm not sure, I might be wrong, but whether it's a struggle with getting people on too many fighters and not enough cards, maybe getting them out. It's because it's surprising that he would let one of his golden boys go to Channel 5 even for whatever money, not try to bring Taylor across. But it's a great fight, and it's a fight that will happen again. There's no rematch clause, so it's not going to happen straight away, but in 2-3 years' time, I'd pretty much say that fight will happen again. It's another Dick Gale Groves, really, in the making. But I think Davis might have a little bit too much for Taylor, really, at this stage.
100%. It's a real tough fight. I keep changing my mind, who I think is going to win.
Yeah.
At the minute, I'm probably thinking Taylor. When I last went live, I was probably thinking Davies. I'm getting the impression. Do you know what? When I did a bit of a live poll on my stream the other day, I got about 60% saying Taylor, which kind of ties in with what the bookmakers are thinking, I think.
I saw that, and I did wonder, though, if it's that perception of Davis that pushes people to say Taylor, because I know I want to say Taylor, but, I wonder if the head goes with it a little bit, so the heart goes with it a little bit sometimes.
100%. It's one where I think this is really going to catch the public's imagination, and I think clashing with Billy Joe Saunders, that could be really detrimental, given that this is on terrestrial TV, to that card for Frank Warren, which is unfortunate, but there you go. Jet, did you want to get in at all on this one? You're on mute if you did, Jet.
Yeah, no, nothing else. Everyone's kind of spoke about it. Great fight.
Superb, mate. Yeah. Got your message there, Jet. That's cool. Wicked. All right. Next one. Mike Perez. You guys may remember Mike Perez, former prize fighter winner, took a draw with Carlos Takam, lost in controversial fashion against Bryant Jennings, seemed to kind of lose his way after the tragic incident where he caused permanent brain damage to Magomed Abdussalamov. But Mike Perez is back in the gym. For the first time in his career, he's got himself into fantastic condition, and he's dropping down to cruiserweight, and he's going to be taking on Irish cruiserweight Tommy McCarthy on the undercard of the Lee Haskins versus Ryan Burnett card. So, for me, very exciting news this. Mike Perez is a guy I've always rated extremely highly. And if he's taking his career seriously and, trying to mix it up a bit at cruiserweight, he's going to be a force, I think. What do you guys reckon?
I don't think it's going to be a problem for him coming down, to be honest with you. As he said, he looks in great shape. I think he's only had like one KO in the last 6 years or something like that.
Yeah.
I presume. So I don't think it's power that's going to be an issue about, will he lose his power, etc., etc. McCarthy, it's a good fight. McCarthy lost at Askin, didn't he? Who's going to fight the same weekend? Is that right? He fights same time as he fights Kennedy, doesn't he? For the British time.
He fights Craig Kennedy on Friday night. Yeah.
Friday night. Yeah. So it should be an interesting fight, and I think he might have new spirit about him. He may want to, think, okay, this is a new start, fresh start. Maybe I could really do things at cruiserweight that I possibly couldn't do at heavyweight. I think McCarthy will be looking to revenge after losing to Askin and missing out on that chance of a British title shot. Because I know there were big things said about McCarthy and big hopes, and losing to Askin sort of knocked those plans a little bit.
Absolutely. And the bookmakers have Mike Perez as a 1-9 favourite, I believe. So the bookmakers certainly believe that this is going to be easy work for Mike Perez. And I guess Perez, whether you're a fan of his or not, he's certainly a guy who's operated at a higher level than domestic level, So, and that was in the division above as well. So if he doesn't, he looks like the sort of guy who should be able to make cruiserweight. If he doesn't have to drain himself too much to make the weight, because I guess he won't have drained himself so much previously, then. And
when did he last fight, Tom? Quite a while ago. Is that right?
I think he last fought against Alexander Povetkin, where he got knocked out in one round. And I think he's come up and said he's only 31 years old. Yeah, so his last fight was against Povetkin in May 2015.
Yeah.
And I believe he said that he was drunk for the fight. He actually took the fight. He fought drunk.
So if that's true, then maybe he has found new focus to get into that sort of shape. Maybe he's about 2 years off and he's found focus and he wants to start campaigning, regularly at cruiserweight.
He's a proper Irish Cuban boy, huh?
He is. He's almost, he's actually due to fight this weekend, Mike Perez, against. Yeah. So that could be an interesting test to see what he weighs in at and how good he looks. But presumably it will be someone that he can get out of there in 30 seconds. So, maybe we won't learn so much. But interesting fighter, I think. Yeah.
We'll know a lot more when we see him. It will probably just be just a workout because it's literally, I don't know, was it 2 weeks before? Two or a week before? I don't know. I don't know.
The fight against Tommy McCarthy is for 10th of June. So I presume, this one will really just be an easy blowout, you'd have to presume.
Yeah. We'll see. He's a Cuban, so, he's got that Cuban technique, hopefully. And as I said, I don't think the power is going to be an issue because I don't think he's really ever had the power in a while. So, hopefully he might bring a bit of power to cruiserweight. Now he's dropped.
Yeah, definitely. And really, he was one of these guys whose career was blighted by stamina problems. He had the talent to be a world-class heavyweight. In that Carlos Takam fight, that was a 10-round fight. He won the first 5 rounds quite easily. and then lost the second 5 rounds because the Cam came on stronger. In the Brian Jennings fight, he almost swept the first half of that fight. Pretty much won every round, and then really collapsed in terms of stamina in the later half of that fight. So, that tied into him not living the lifestyle, not being in good shape. So, if he could fight like he was fighting in those fights for the entire 12 rounds against smaller guys, he's someone who I believe could be a world champion. But obviously he's been extremely inactive. He's lost momentum in his career, and we'll have to see how he makes 200 pounds. So there's a lot of cause for doubt, but really, really interesting to see how he gets on for me. The other piece of news, well, there's 2 other bits of news that I put down briefly. They've actually both come out since I sent you guys the agenda this morning. But firstly, Miguel Cotto appears to have announced a fight against Kamagai for the vacant WBO 154-pound belt. I mean, I know we talked about Paul Smith getting a dubious title fight last week, but Kamagai at 154 pounds must be right up there, guys.
Terrible fight.
It really is pretty bad, hey? I guess there isn't too much more to say on that other than terrible, terrible, terrible fight. I wonder if they'll try and sell that as a pay-per-view, hey?
And how long's Cotto been out?
So his last fight, I'm guessing, would have been Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah, which was, what, 2 years ago?
Let's have a look. November 15. So, 18 months.
So you walk straight into a title shot. I know it's Miguel Cotto, and I know he's some sort of boxing royalty, but I mean, this is again, it shows up, what's happening within boxing and people being, handed these shots. If you've got a big enough name, you'll get a shot. Simple as that.
Yeah, and he goes up against Yoshihiro Kamagai, who lost to Alfonso Gomez of Contender fame, and lost to Robert Guerrero. It's a strange world, isn't it?
If he lost to Gomez, then there's something, you might as well fight Peter Manfredo and be done with it.
Indeed. So, not an overly exciting fight there. The other one is it's been widely reported that Alexander Povetkin will be fighting in short order against Rudenko, who famously took on Lucas Brown and also Hughie Fury. So I'm not 100% sure what the situation is with Alexander Povetkin. There's so many conflicting stories and there's so much smoke and mirrors and different opinions about his career. But, clearly this is the second fight that he's taken following on from the Johan Depar fight, after his fight with Bermain Stavern was cancelled due to the drug issues. So it seems that he is staying active and pursuing boxing and, presumably fighting regardless of the failed test. So I just hope Rudenko stays safe. I said in the Depar fight, it's a really, really bad look if Depar gets horribly knocked out, and he did. And it's kind of a bizarre situation because I think in boxing, we watch many, many fights where afterwards one of the fighters gets tested for drugs and fails. But when Povetkin fights, he's one of the rare fighters where you actually watch him fight, and at the time, he's failed a drug test. He's actually going into the ring as a guy who's with a failed drug test. And for me, that's an even worse look for the sport. But there you go. Hey,
I think it just gets worse and worse. Really, I think for one, I'd ask the question. Who's sanctioning this fight? Where's it going? Well, it's obviously going to be in Russia, because I don't think he could bring him into Europe or the States.
Yeah.
And then you've got, Shannon Briggs failing drugs test or high amounts of hormone in his body, and then Lucas Brown fighting June the 5th, I think it is, June the 3rd. Don't know who he's fighting, but Povetkin is a danger to others. And as he said, after what had happened with Depar, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't nice to watch at all. But why have drug testing if you can carry on fighting regardless? It just makes a mockery really of what of what Varda or whoever's trying to do, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Not a good look for the sport. Mikey also put in the chat, and I believe this is correct, that Omar Figueroa is taking on Robert in July. So that's Omar Figueroa. I guess he's a guy whose career really seems to have disappeared a bit, doesn't it? But I guess Robert Guerrero, you'd think would be a winnable fight, presumably up at 147 for that matchup.
Yeah. The Ghost is not what he was. We know that he's been through some. He's had some big fights. He's probably made some good money, but as you said, Figueroa gone off the map a little bit. I think that he will have enough really for Guerrero. Guerrero slowed down so much. He's tough as nails, but he'll just take punishment, and then it'll be on a decision, I would imagine.
Yeah, indeed. Cool, guys. So that's what I've put down as the news stories to cover. Just a quick opportunity if any of you guys wanted to get in on any of those. If not, we'll move it on to next week.
No, good.
Fire ahead.
Stuff. Tom, let's go to you first, mate. Look, it's a great card this week. Brook versus Spence, Groves versus Chudinov, Allen versus Thomas. For me, those are all highly competitive fights. Whether you want to call them 60-40s, 50-50s, those are all fights where I legit struggle to call a winner. A real good card. Jamie Cox also features on the undercard. A good bit of other boxing in Britain this weekend. There's a decent fight in the cruiserweight division. Craig Kennedy versus Matty Askins. You've got a debut of Harlem Eubank in Brighton. And on that card, Tom Little also takes on Kamil Sokolovsky. So there's good boxing in Britain this weekend. But you've got to say that this Brook Spence fight is clearly the most intriguing. So, Tom, I know you've had strong opinions on this fight throughout the build-up. Give us your take on it as we approach the big fight, mate.
What were my strong opinions? What was it? That Brook was ducking, is it? Or
no, I think you said that you really fancy Errol Spence to win the fight.
No, I do fancy him to win it. This is probably the best British versus American matchup since Ben McClelland. I can't think of another one. Can anyone think of a top British fighter, like a proper world-class British fighter fighting like a killer coming over from America?
What, you mean actually in Britain?
Yeah, in Britain.
Well, I suppose, Kawasaki, Jeff Lacey, but
Lacey was shite.
Yeah, but we didn't know that until afterwards.
I think a lot of people knew that. That's why Frank brought him over.
Well, yeah, but from a fan's perspective, we didn't really know that. There was a lot of hype around him, and there's a lot of hype around Errol Spence.
But Errol Spence is not hype.
Well,
I don't think. Jeff Lacey was like, if you look at Jeff Lacey, had a lot of knockouts, but when he stepped up the levels, he had some ordinary performances as well. He was crude.
But he was unbeaten.
Well, I think Jeff Lacey's nowhere near the class, and I never did at the time. But anyway, to me anyway, it's the last one is McClelland, and whether we get another fight like that one, I doubt it. But because that was an exceptional fight. But actually, that night when I watched that Gerald McClelland fight, I ended up asleep in a ditch, covered in my own vomit. But anyway, I fell off a bike and into the ditch. But what was it? Errol Spence one. I think it's great. I think Kell has been doing this ketogenic diet. I know my missus she's lupus, and she was experimenting with going on that type of diet. It's where you'd have basically next to no carbs, and you're eating high protein, high fat diet, and it's kind of like that. You remember that diet, Atkins diet? It's kind of like that, but when you're transitioning from into that diet, you very low energy for a while. So who knows how that's affected Kell's build up. I think that he's likely to not be the same Kell Brook. A, he's older. B, he took a shellacking. He's got a bad eye, and he's had to drop a lot of weight and shed muscle. So I think that there's just so many negatives going against Kell in what I think at best will be a 50-50 fight. But it's a shame that you could get 6-5 on this fight before it was formally announced for Errol Spence, and now it's gone 4-7. And I don't think there's any value in it. The only thing I might bet on if there is the market available is a split decision. Usually on some of these big pay-per-view ones, you get all the crazy markets being made. But I think this is, Errol Spence, he's extremely confident, and I don't feel like he is he's got hubris or anything. This guy has sparred all the top guys. He's been sent home by Mayweather for giving him hell. If he's able to give Mayweather hell, he's going to be able to do the same to a Kell Brook, who's probably on the slide.
Do you think that? Do you think he'll win by knockout?
I think he could win by knockout, but the thing is, Kell showed, like, fair play to Kell. He's a bit of a mad bastard, Like, Kell took much heavier shots off Golovkin than Spence will be able to throw. Let's just get it straight like there. Golovkin will hit a lot harder than Errol Spence. Not to take away from Errol Spence's power, but that means if he's able to really not go down, he didn't go down against Thingy. Will Spence be able to do? If he does, I think Errol Spence will do it through the body, and it'll come through the body, and he'll hurt him through the body, and then he'll be able to take him out. But I don't expect him to take him out with headshots or things like that. I just think that he'll beat up Kell, to be honest.
Howard Foster's the referee, Tom. Do you think that's relevant?
Yeah, well, I think Errol Spence would be lucky to get out of that first round.
Yeah. Or do you think it's something we talk about ahead of all major fights now? But do you think if the fight is close and it does go the distance, presumably if you're an Errol Spence fan, or if you're betting on Errol Spence, you're going to be very, very nervous about how those judges are going to see the fight.
Yeah, the thing is, though, with the judges is like Errol Spence is seen as the future in America, right? So he's going to be seen as the money man, not Kell Brook. Kell Brook's not a money man. He doesn't attract money. The only big fight that Kell Brook was in was a GGG fight, and that was only because it was GGG. Okay, and Kell is what, 31 or something? What age is Kell? Is he 30, 31?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and Errol Spence is 26. So I think the license, the WBC or who's this, IBF, those guys are going to be looking at Kell Brook as the money maker for them. He's the future of probably the welterweight division. That's what they're going to see, not Kell Brook. And so Eddie might be able to pay off one judge, but I don't think all of them will do what Eddie wants. He's not some random Ecuadorian coming over, and he's not a 41-year-old Klitschko. He's a young American guy. And the other thing I'd say as well is, like, when these elite American prospects come over to get British belts, they invariably win. You look at who they sent over in the recent while. Tim Bradley, Terence Crawford, Gervonta Davis, Errol Spence. If you want to count Jeff Lacey in there, I don't think he was elite. But, if you want to count Jeff Lacey, you're looking at the last 4 times they sent over elite Americans. Sorry?
Andre Durrell?
Yeah, Andre Durrell got, I think most neutral people thought he probably nicked that fight. I thought he won that fight. But, yeah, like, maybe you could make a case for Andre Durrell, but I don't think he was anywhere near the same level as those other guys. Well, no, maybe that's wishful thinking. He's definitely not on the same level as Errol Spence when he came over. Maybe, and Tim Bradley wasn't as big a one as Terence Crawford was when he came over. So maybe. But I just think that when these elite Americans come over, the big money that follows them in America is going to be able to stave off the majority of the judges.
Tom, let me play devil's advocate for a second. If I listen to the conventional arguments as to why Errol Spence will lose this fight, you could say he's relatively untested. He's been kept away from big punchers. His biggest wins, the likes of Bundu in Algeria, noted light punchers. He's supposedly relatively hittable. He's a guy who will probably struggle to beat Kell Brook purely from the outside. And a lot of people say that he will get clipped and get caught as he looks to make that transition from the outside to inside. They say he's quite upright. His chin's there to be hit. And he's never fought at this level or been hit by a guy like Kell Brook in the pro ranks. And, he may find that he gets hurt early and that he can't make that step into reins. What's your take on those sort of arguments?
Well, I don't think he's there to be hit. I think he got hit once by your man Lartey. But look, every young fighter coming through gets hit. Kell Brook got hit against Shevchenko. Was it not Shevchenko? What was his name?
Austin Jones. Kell Brook got dropped by a journeyman early in his career.
What was the Russian guy that Ricky Hatton fought?
Oh, Senchenko.
Senchenko, yeah, not Shevchenko. Senchenko, Ukrainian, sorry. Senchenko, he buzzed Kell Brook, but we don't say that Kell Brook has got a crap chin. Fighters can get buzzed. For me, it's like, how did they react to being buzzed is the thing. And I don't think he's ever been dropped as a pro, has he? No, he's never been dropped. He's been buzzed once, but you have 20, you do 25 fights or whatever he has. It's hard not to be buzzed and rocked. Can Kell rock him? Yes, but I don't think Kell is a murderous puncher. Like, Kell is a guy who's got good power, enough power to keep people off. Kell had enough power to tame Sean Porter, So he's got decent power. But, when these guys come from the gyms and all these gym stories coming about, they're not for nothing, those gym stories. You know what I mean? They're not for nothing. And he's sparring with the Charlos. If you're sparring with fucking really big, the big Charlo's a big 154. He's now a 160 guy. Regularly, those are Texas boys. They're working out of the same gym. I just don't think he's going to be a
sorry,
power.
Tom. He's been sparring with the WBC champ at 154, not the other one who's moved up recently. And he's been sparring with a cruiserweight.
Oh, sorry, I got them mixed up. Sorry, Dad. Who's the other fella you said?
Adrian Taylor, who's a Texan cruiserweight prospect.
Yeah. Fucking cruiserweight, yeah. So I don't think he'll be. Look, I think that to me he's just favourite, and it's not like I don't give Kell a chance. I think if there is a bet to be done, it's Kell on points, but I don't see it happening. I think Kell's not going to win that fight.
Okay, interesting stuff. So Tom is going for Errol Spence. Jet, let's go over to yourself, mate. Lots of talking points there. British judging, Howard Foster, the styles, the experience, the previous opponents, the range, the way these guys like to get their punches off. Lots of talking points in this fight, partly in the build-up to why it's so intriguing. Actually, let me say 180 of you guys watching live now, so thanks to everyone who's joined. Please hit the thumbs up button if you are one of them 180. Jet, let's go over to you for your take on those issues and how you're picking this fight, mate.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of flashpoints and talking points to talk about. The judging is definitely key. Very big in terms of the overall landscape of the fight. If the fight goes to the judges, how will they score it? Will it be a long wide scoring for Kell Brook, or will it just shade Errol Spence? We don't know. It's been pretty appalling in recent months in Britain, let's put it that way. The referee, I'm not going to comment any further because Howard Foster is a terrible referee, and he makes some very poor choices, and that's my opinion on that. I'm not going to say much more on that, but yeah, Errol Spence and his camp better be ready just in case he does get past, because Howard Foster will be right in there like a champ on chips waiting to stop the fight. The fight itself, I think you you and Irish have kind of broken it down pretty succinctly, and it's difficult to put, you know, my 2 pence in there. I think it's a very, very tough fight for me to pick. I think it's a 50-50, and I think, you know, I think I'd have to sit on the fence, I'll be honest. The first round or two will kind of give an indication as to who the winner will be. But if I really had to stick my neck out and pick a winner, if I really had to, then it'd probably be Errol Spence, just about. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Brook wins, though, you know, at all. It's a very, very, very competitive fight, and there's a lot of questions that both of them need to answer. How has Kell adapted to the weight cut? How does Errol Spence, you know, adapt when he gets hit? So there's a lot of questions, and I think they'll all be answered Saturday night. It's a cracking fight, and it's actually a pretty decent bill for once on Sky.
100%. And Jet, do you want to give us your thoughts perhaps on some of those undercard fights? Either Groves or Dave Allen or Jamie Cox or any of the other stuff going on, mate?
Yeah, I saw Cox was sparring with Kell Brook actually as well. So yeah, he's obviously got his debut against Taylor. He should win if he's doing, you know, if he's up to much, I guess. But yeah, he should win. Dave Allen probably break the guy Lenroy Thomas down. Lenroy Thomas, I've seen bits and pieces of him. He's not too bad, not too shabby. So yeah, Dave Allen probably late on to stop him, maybe on points. But yeah, we'll see on that one. I expect Dave Allen to come out with the Commonwealth belt in that fight. Groves Chudinov, fantastic fight. You know, another one, really, really good fight, 50-50. For me, even though it is a 50-50, I'm going to stick my neck out and say I think Groves could win this quite easy, I'll be honest. You know, I see a lot of holes in Fedor Chudinov's game. He's a good all-rounded guy, but, you know, his footwork can be a bit plodding at times. He hasn't got the fastest of hands. You know, there's a little things that Groves does better and he can pick up on. And as we always say on the channel, I think we all advocates of George Groves and his jab, definitely his jab, I think. So, yeah, I think George Groves, if he establishes the jab and he can keep it at a good sort of slowish pace, I think the fight is quite easy for him. But Fedor Chudinov is live in the fight, and we know how Groves likes to tire. He did get buzzed by Murray as well. So, yeah, there's definitely scope for Fedor Chudinov to win the fight. But I think Groves, if he's come in and he's done the work beforehand, I do think he can win the fight pretty decently.
Interesting. Do you know what? I think this is some real tough fights this weekend. I did side with George Groves in my prediction video, but I really think this is tough work for him. I think he's got lots of advantages, and I expect him to take an early lead. But the way Chudinov fights, the pressure he brings, the way he takes the range of people, if George Groves is tired, rounds 8, 9, those sort of rounds, I think it could be a tough work for him. I could see Chudinov beating him. I could see Chudinov sweeping the second half of the fight. I could see Chudinov stopping him late. I think Groves really hates it when he can't keep his distance and be the ring general. I think if he's got a guy who's relentlessly sitting on his chest and grinding him down, and if he's all worn out after 7, 8 rounds, I think this could be very tough work for George Groves. And he doesn't make these fights easy for himself. Even fights he should be winning comfortably, like the Murray fight, where he lets the opponents back in late on because he tires. I think it's a real tough fight. And whilst I picked George Groves, bookmakers have Chudinov 7-2, 3.5 to 1. I think this is a fight Groves could very easily lose. Similarly, on the Dave Allen fight, now you guys know I'm a big Dave Allen fan. I've been interviewing Dave on this channel for a long time, been covering his fights even longer. I've had a look at this Lenroy Thomas. I think he's a capable fighter. I've got real concerns, how motivated is Lenroy Thomas? Has he come over to lose? It sounds like he's been predominantly a sparring partner these days, so maybe he's kind of adopted that sparring partner mentality, and a guy like Dave Allen's just going to be too young and have too much momentum for him. But goes up at his very best. It's impossible he could beat Dave Allen. This is a real 50-50 fight. I don't think Lenroy Thomas has the power to stop Dave Allen. to win on points. And I'm certainty that Dave Allen out. I must say. What's your thoughts on these big fights on the card, mate?
Kell, Brook, Spence. I kind of feel like it. Madly enough, it's like a breakout fight for Kell, Brook. I know you shouldn't be having a breakout fight, but it sort of is because he fought Porter.
Yeah,
a great win.
Signal is
I'll come off and I'll come
absolutely. I think. Do you want to try again? Okay, Jay's just. I'm sorry, I'll come back on. Let's go back to Iris. Just briefly, Iris about Groves and baseball.
Gossip, I think it might be your reception that's bad. Hello?
Yeah, Gossip, I think it's yours.
It's Gossip, I think that's
You
the
there,
problem.
Jet?
I'm here, but I think it's your end, Gossip.
Oh.
Yeah, it's you.
I think it's you, Gossip.
Irish?
Yeah, I can hear you, Jet.
Irish? Okay, yeah, I can hear you clearly as well. Yeah, I think Gossip, yeah.
Get his picks.
Gossip.
What
do we do?
I don't know.
Carry on regardless.
I'm driving around, to be honest. Well, I guess we'll just wait for him to sort out the IT issues.
All right,
so yeah, my
XJ.
So, as I said, I think it's like a breakout fight crazily for Brook because Brook had the Porter fight, came back with the title, then he got the stabbing incident, then he fought, as we know, Jojo Dan, etc., etc., and then he fought Golovkin, lost that. So it's kind of like he's never really made, I don't even think, but he's never really made that impression in the States. They still don't view him as someone, you know, as a big name in the welterweight division.
Yeah, definitely.
You got yeah. So in a way, it's kind of an important fight for him because he needs to really prove to get that Thurman fight or that Pacquiao fight or whoever, or Garcia, whoever, to get that fight. So he really needs to win this. And the same goes for Spence. This is his breakout fight, but it's crazy that Brook's having to have this breakout fight now, going forward.
Gossip, you there?
Hello,
give us a sound check. Hello? It's still a bit iffy.
It's not
great. Say again, go again.
Well,
all right, Jack.
Go on, Gossip.
Is it me or is he cutting out, guys?
He is cutting out. Are you driving, Jet? Are you?
Yeah, I'm driving.
I was wondering, because it's quite low.
Don't worry about me cutting out, guys. Just Jay, you just continue with your picks, mate.
So I will think. I personally will go for Brook. I just I think Brook's been underrated for a while. Technically, really good. I think he'll be able to hold off Spence because he's so good on the back foot. Spence likes to push a fight, so I will. My pick will be Brook with home advantage, etc., etc. Groves Chudinov, I think this is Groves. He talks about the jab. I think everything's been said. We do not. I'd like to see. He's really established himself now with Shane McGuigan, and really like to see how that should really have been put into practice now, and see how how he's going to take this opportunity, because this must be his last opportunity. I don't know how much people agree, but I think it's definitely going to be his last opportunity of a world title. Although with Paul Smith getting one, you wouldn't be surprised if it's not. Dave Allen, Lenroy Thomas. I watched Lenroy Thomas' last fight today. It was a 6-rounder, or scheduled 6-rounder, against a guy who had fought Malik Scott, who had fought Badu Jack, believe it or not, early in his career. Was very overweight, out of shape. He looked like he had quick hands, but he did look like after about 3 rounds he was getting pretty tired. So I don't know what his conditioning is like. Dave Allen, this is such a major fight for him. We've seen him against Dillian White. We've seen him against Luis Ortiz. And apparently then he was not prepared. He was not in, the right mental state, wasn't in the right condition. He wasn't taking things seriously. He's changed that, apparently. Then he's fought 2 lower opponents who he's expected to beat, who he rushed out of there within quick time when he's been getting back into training. So now he's apparently physically fit. He's been training well. His diet's been going well. So now we're really going to see, hopefully, what Dave Allen is all about, whether he is a really good fighter. So many people say, Peter Fury, etc., said he's a really good boxer. So hopefully now this is the time where we're going to actually see how good Dave Allen is, and it's such a massive opportunity for him, and hopefully he doesn't freeze in front of the crowd. He takes it in his stride and he can go on and win well, and then go on to maybe get that British title that he wants so much. Et voila.
Definitely.
Yeah. Not going to hear that gossip. Totally broke.
Who did you pick in the Groves fight, mate?
I'd pick Groves for that. I think purely out of experience, knowledge. I know Chudinoff 2 fights with Sturm, but then there was the drug issues. He's a good fighter, but I think through what Groves has been through, having a new trainer, the trainer settled in now after a few fights, and he's knowing that this is his could be his last opportunity and his easiest opportunity of winning a world title fight. I think he will take it with both hands, and this time I hope he will follow through and finally gain that title, which will open so many doors for him regarding James DeGale, Callum Smith. Gossip's gone. Irish Tom.
I'm here. I'm always here for you. Give us a hug.
Glad you got your voice back, because otherwise it would just be me talking to myself.
No, I'm here too, mate.
Oh, there you go. Jet hasn't crashed the car either.
Yeah, not
You
Jet.
guys
No,
hear?
I haven't. I'm still
Jet is out dogging for the night.
He's passed his exams now. He can do what he wants.
Yeah, off to the forest.
Hey, number 1, finished exams, go dogging.
I'm gonna get so much. I can always get stick in the chat when something about me said on that sort of note.
There you go,
Lads, I'm going to have to run. I'll see you next week, and hopefully we'll have an Errol Spence winner.
Hopefully not. Yeah. Happy.
Take care.
All right, boys. Good luck.
There.
All the best, Tom.
Take care.
Oh, you're back.
Can you guys hear me at all, or am I still playing up?
No, it's good now.
Yeah, much better, mate. Much better.
Okay, I've messed around with a few things at my end, so hopefully we're back in the driving seat there. So yeah, apologies about that, guys. I think we can all agree 3 really, really good fights, if nothing else there. Yeah, I think we'll all be glued to the TV sets when it comes to Saturday night, definitely. Did either of you have anything else you wanted to throw into the mix about any of the other topics from tonight or any of the other fights this weekend?
Just want to say one thing. Anyone who is planning on purchasing the pay-per-view, that it will not be available to watch online. So you have to have a sort of set-top box to watch it. Yeah, you can buy it, but you won't be able to watch it online.
Oh, okay.
Just so everyone knows, like, if they're willing to pay for it.
Yeah. Do you know what? I did a bit of a public service announcement the other day, and I got a load of abuse on it. So what I said was the pay-per-view price now goes up on the day. So whenever I bought the pay-per-view previously, I've bought it an hour or 2 before I've started watching the fight.
Yes.
I've already ordered the pay-per-view this time round. And believe it or not, that's not because I love Eddie Hearn. That's not because I want to send all my money to Eddie Hearn. It's not that I want to, tweet him an image that I've ordered the pay-per-view so he can retweet it. It's actually because you save a £5 by ordering it in advance. So the reason I put that out on the channel was that anyone who wanted to save a few pounds so they've got, extra money to spend on beer or something during a fight would know to do that. I ended up getting a load of abuse that I was trying to advertise people to spend their money on Hearn's pay-per-views early to help the Matchroom business model, which I won't lose too much sleep over. But just another announcement that if, like me, you'd rather keep that extra £5, but you are planning on buying the pay-per-view, do it today, tomorrow, or Friday, but don't do it on the day of the fight.
One thing, did you, after watching that interview with Coogan, that marathon that marathon feature film interview with Eddie Hearn the other day, about him talking about pay-per-view cards for the rest of the year?
Yeah.
And saying that if they would take Canelo Golovkin as a pay-per-view here, they could possibly take Mayweather McGregor as a pay-per-view here. They could possibly take, obviously, Joshua as another pay-per-view. And it's working out that there could be up to 5 pay-per-views before the end of the year. Bellew Hay, another pay-per-view. But he said that he didn't think that. I think Coogan said that that he didn't think that he thinks McGregor Mayweather would do 1 million pay-per-views in this country. What do you think about that?
I don't think it would, because maybe I'm a bit biased on this, but I'm someone who needs my sleep.
Yeah.
For me, I'm not someone who wants to be up at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. I'm an old man, despite my age. I want to be asleep at midnight or by 1 o'clock at the latest. So for me, do I want to pay 25 quid to watch something, bleary-eyed at 4 a.m? Not really. I think, for an absolutely massive fight, I would get up. But if you're throwing in 20 quid or 25 quid on top of that, I almost think I'd rather sleep in, save the money, get a good night's sleep, and then watch it in the morning,
Well, he was saying that the Golovkin Canelo would do 700,000 buys in this country.
Was that on the basis of a strong UK card in addition?
I think he said almost like a domestic card as such. Do you know what I mean? Nothing, not like Joshua Klitschko, Canelo, Golovkin. It was part of a decent card by all accounts.
Do you know what? If the boxing in the UK started at midnight, even if it was just a decent card, I think I'd be game. What I wouldn't want to do is start watching boxing at 7, finish watching boxing at 12, entertain myself for 3 or 4 hours, and then get out of bed again, or start watching boxing again. For me, that just kind of spoils the night, if that makes sense. So I think, me personally, I'd be more likely to go to bed. But I mean, that's obviously.
For instance, would if Golovkin Canelo was on at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the evening, would it really do 700,000 in this country? Really?
Jay, I'm just getting word from the chat, and the chat may be right here, that Hearn actually said 200,000, not 700,000.
Did it? Oh, sorry, but then
I think it actually rings a bell. Yeah, I think Hearn said 700k for. Yeah, he said 700k for Mayweather McGregor, 200k for Golovkin Canelo.
I'm about to say, okay, well, I apologise because I was thinking there's no way that's going to do. But it's usually it goes on a Box Nation card, though, doesn't it? Canelo.
Yeah, he has done a few, hasn't he? But I presume Sky haven't paid the money previously to get his fights. But maybe they will do if they can make it a pay-per-view fight. Yeah.
I wonder how much it will do.
I don't think Canelo Golovkin at 4 a.m. is going to be a big pay-per-view draw in the UK. I really don't.
No. And I think that's the worry with maybe taking Joshua over to the US, you know, on what kind of whether you know you're going to get the same sort of buys at that sort of time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you would personally. Mayweather McGregor, I think that's a global event. I think that's an event that appeals to non-boxing fans. I think that would completely cross over. But Canelo, Triple G,
No,
not on the same level for me.
no, not at all.
It was interesting what he was saying, though. I mean, I don't know why he was digging out the Amir Khan Kell Brook fight again. So that, you know, let's leave that to die a death now. We don't need to go through that saga again. I do think the Gale will be in some sort of pay-per-view event, whether that's Eubank, whether that's Groves, you know, whatever it is. I think that will happen. I do think the Hay Bellew rematch will happen. The Joshua Klitschko rematch will probably happen. So I think maybe they'll sort of go for those ones and the Mayweather one, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, I think it was a toss-up between whether you take Golovkin, Canelo, or Mayweather, McGregor. You know, but there's 4. You know, from what, September, which is a lot, and you can, you know, and his opinion wasn't it, that if we don't do it, someone else will. Giving which is true, which is giving all the inclinations that pretty much every big fight now is going to be a pay-per-view fight, yeah, if anywhere possible, you know. It's not good.
Well, do you know what? I'll get stick for saying this, but I don't care. It's my opinion. I actually think the market for pay-per-view boxing is much higher than the market for non-pay-per-view boxing. I actually think that the people who tune into Eddie Hearn shows would rather pay for a pay-per-view event than not. And I know that sounds like a ridiculous comment, but I genuinely believe it's the case. I don't think there's interest in watching you know, standard Saturday night Sky Belts. And that's possibly because the quality isn't great, because their market is all about the pay-per-view model. I'm not saying that's not true. But I think more and more people look forward to these pay-per-view cards as opposed to anything else.
Well, they don't get the build-up, do they? They don't get the, you know, behind the ropes, the gloves are off. You know, behind it. So, you know, everyone's hyped up for the big event, which is done weeks and weeks and weeks. It starts to be put into people's imagination and mindset that this is the event that's going to happen. Book your pay-per-view now, book your Sky box office, you know, and and it's put in the early days into people's, you know, into the casual fans, where it's published and shown in the middle of football matches or on Sky Sports News, and there's lots of interviews, etc., which I found that this one, there hasn't seemed to be as much as that, only just like really this week and the end of last week for Spence, Brook.
Yeah, I mean, I guess now there's so many pay-per-views, and there's been obviously the Joshua fight relatively recently, etc. I guess there's previously, when a pay-per-view was announced, I guess you had much more heavy promotion because a pay-per-view was a rare event that was few and far between. Whereas now they're so frequent, I guess there's less time to build them up, and they're kind of more regular events, I guess.
I'd have thought, though, this one would have needed an extra little push, though, for that casual market.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how many views it does do, because Hearn seemed to view this, if you think of pay-per-views as having the big draws being Joshua or Hay Bellew, he seemed to kind of think of this as a bit of a second-tier pay-per-view in terms of the numbers.
Yeah. Or he's just maybe taking it for granted now because he's had so much success with pay-per-view that he's almost taking it for granted that it will do decent numbers.
Yeah, completely.
No, it's you know, it's probably it's on paper it's a better fight than Hay Bellew, you know, from a boxing perspective.
Yeah. I mean, I've always had the belief that people buy pay-per-views, number one, because of the lead fighter involved, or number two, because of the bad blood. Bizarrely, Chisora White, I think that could possibly do more numbers than Brook Spence, because they're heavyweights, they're huge personalities, and there's beef and bad blood outside of the ring. So, you know, there you go. I always remember at the time the success commercially that Bellew Cleverly was on pay-per-view, and that was all about that bad blood and that hype and sales outside the ring. So there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Because Cleverly wouldn't do a pay-per-view on his own.
Oh God, no.
You need Bellew for that all day. Definitely.
But it's an interesting topic, and I think it does affect the way British boxing is going at present. So it's one that we can revisit. Wicked stuff. Anything else from either of you guys?
Nope.
No, I'm good.
Fantastic. Well, in that case, I'll call it a night there. Apologies to everyone watching who suffered the technical issues. I know it was at my end apparently, so I think I was cutting in and out a bit. But yeah, thanks to everyone for tuning in. As always, please hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this. Please hit subscribe if you haven't done so before. And we'll be back next Wednesday at 8:30 to discuss all the boxing. We'll be giving you a bit of a review of the Kell, Brook, Errol, Spence card, and hopefully we'll be discussing some amazing fights that take place this weekend. So cheers all. Good evening, and catch up soon and be back next week.
I'll be there, everyone.
Cheers.
And as Tom says, happy Wednesday.
Definitely. All right. See you later. Cheers, guys.